And let me do that. Brianna's going to push that. Have a good meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good evening and welcome to the Scituate Planning Board Thursday, September 12th, 2024 meeting. Held here in the Select Board hearing room at Town Hall. We have a posted agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
First item on the agenda. Public meeting is site plan waiver. 108 to 110 Front Street, the Assessors Map Block 50-7-15. Owner, Red and White Realty Trust. Is there anybody here for that?
Seth,
Ms. Lambert, you have no one virtually here for that.
she's not here. She said.
I'm sorry.
There she is.
There she is.
Right here.
Yeah, correct. Let's just make sure she is okay. Ms. Tondorf, you should be able to unmute yourself and start your video. Your agenda item just did start.
Oh, perfect.
Good
I'm here.
evening.
Can you guys see me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good
Hi.
evening, how are you tonight? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you guys.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you propose at 108, 110 Front Street, please?
I'm proposing a restaurant at that particular location. At this point, no outdoor seating, just proposing a transfer of liquor license and to do a moderate build out of the actual space itself. Not changing anything structural, just sort of going in and, putting in different appliances, building a bar, putting tables and chairs in. Nothing extravagant or crazy.
Okay, thank you. Karen?
All right, so what's proposed is a 42-seat restaurant in the old Dunkin' space. So the front part will be the restaurant, the back part where the kitchen and all that kind of stuff for Dunkin' is going to be, whatever remodeling she's going to have to do for that. So it's a 42-seat restaurant in the space. Technically, it's an increase in demand of 5 or more spaces, but parking is on Front Street and in Cole Parkway, so I don't see any advantage of going for a full site plan, which is why I recommended she apply for a site plan waiver.
Okay, see, because you don't see this as a change of use either.
Well, it's going from fast food to restaurant, so that's why she applied for the waiver, because it sort of is a change of use, but there's nothing that's gonna happen. The parking is still gonna be in Cole Parkway and Front Street, so I thought a waiver was the best course of action. She will be before the select board on the 24th to transfer her liquor license.
All right, Ms. Lewis. Ms. Pritchett.
Yeah, a couple questions. As far as the bathrooms go with this size of restaurant, is the bathroom capacity increasing and the sewer capacity increasing?
It is not. I've been in touch with Will Branton at the sewer department. Both bathrooms are ADA compliant. The capacity that I'm looking for does not need an excess of restrooms. Everything is as it stands. I've met with Bob Vogel, the building inspector. I've met with everybody to go over clearances and everything. We are in full ADA compliance. At this point in time, it is simply a cosmetic renovation. So there's no need to even visit that.
So it's gonna stay with effectively two, it looks like a men's and a women's with one toilet in each.
Or 2 unisex bathrooms, correct.
And that's what's there now.
That is correct, what's in place right now.
Okay, in terms of the kitchen, does any of the kitchen ventilation system and equipment need to be changed?
Yes, I have to put in a whole new hood ventilation system.
Bigger than what's there, or is there anything there? I don't know.
There is, but it would not be compliant with what I'm looking to do. So that will be its own separate item.
And is that going in a different place, or how's it get installed?
Well, it's not going into a different place because it's currently not in like code with what I'm doing, so it will be installed. Fortunately, I guess for me, it's a flat roof. It's a one-story building, so the ventilation should be fairly straightforward. The condensers currently for the HVAC sit on the roof, so it should be. There are condensers for what they have in place, which were, sort of low volume, different type of cooking component ventilation systems, which will not work for what I'm going to do. But that,
So this will have an exhaust ventilator on the roof.
well, it's not called an exhaust ventilator, it's a condenser, yeah.
No, I mean for the kitchen exhaust.
Yeah, there'll be a condenser on the roof for it. The ventilation system will be in the kitchen that's vented up through the roof, yes.
Okay, so there's no fans on the roof.
Well, there are, but it's just different from what I need. So the stuff that they had were for different types of cooking equipment, which require different, CFUs or what, or I'm not probably speaking correctly. Sorry, I apologize. I'm in Denmark and I've been traveling for like 18 hours, so I'm a little tired. So the CFUs, like the or BTUs or whatever, are gonna be different. So I'm gonna have to upgrade the system for sure.
About noise.
That's what
Do you know how noisy these are gonna be since there's housing not too far away?
Pardon me?
How noisy they are, do you know how, they're very loud, these fans?
How noisy?
Yeah, yes.
I mean, it's, I don't think it will be anything different than what's happening right now. I mean, every restaurant in Scituate is gonna have a ventilation system on the roof. It's not necessarily, I think most of the noise is gonna come from the actual, like, people working in the kitchen. That's where the sort of the fans blow out on the roof. It's just no more, it's not gonna be any noisier than say you have a mini split or a condenser for a household HVAC system.
Anything else you,
No.
what? No, it's broken. I'm all set, I don't have any questions, just that, I guess good luck, it looks like it's gonna be a little snug, but, that's how people figure out.
Say that, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time.
It
hearing you
looks,
guys.
looks a little crowded down there between the bar and the seating area, so, although, how many, you say you have 36 inches, how far is it from the bar top to the table? Like that?
Pardon me?
It says 15 feet. 15 feet, got it.
Okay.
Right here.
Yeah, we have actually a beautiful amount of clearance, but in terms of ADA stuff, we everything is like, it's actually very, very well executed, the space. So everything is in compliance. Like I said, I met with Bob Vogel. He's, the ADA person in town, and we went over everything. I'm very focused on that myself as a business owner, so I made sure that in the design, everything was, done methodically in that way.
And Bob did confirm to me that it was ADA compliant, and they did camera the grease trap, and the grease trap was okay.
It wasn't the
so-
grease trap, it was the sewer drain.
It's all right, okay.
They were worried it was a clay pipe. Yeah, everything was in compliance there. The grease trap will be something I'll have to take up with, the Board of Health. I believe it should be okay, but if I need to upgrade the size of the grease trap, I will take it. I'll take it with the Board of Health from there, but otherwise, Bob was fine with everything.
And this is your logo? It's very attractive.
That's good, hopefully gonna be the logo, yes, yes.
I mean, very attractive, thank you. All right, I don't have anything else, Karen.
I don't have anything else at the moment.
Anybody in the public have anything they'd like to say about this new restaurant? Nope.
They're talking about the restaurant.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is that what you're here for?
Yes, I am. Actually, I'm sorry, I was a little bit
Come on up, tell us your name, please, and where you live, and speak into the microphone. Yes, thank you.
My last name is Marios. I own 99, 101, 103, and 105 Front Street. And also I own the corner of the 35 Oro Streets. I'm directly right across from the previous Dunkin' Donuts that it was to open up now a restaurant. And I have a few concerns. The main concern is the noise. The hardware has totally changed the last couple of years. I've been there 25 years. The last couple of years, things have become, like I said, crazy. All those live bands, the restaurant has become bars, noise, swearing, drunk people, drugs on the parkment behind the liquor store, like a question units. Drugs right on the alley with the music stories. Yeah. Music played with the full bands, with drums. We're not talking about jazz music as a restaurant that we can deal with. We're talking about obnoxious music. That people that can't stay home anymore. When you have the drums, full bass, full guitar, voice all the way up. And all the 20-year-olds and 21, which is, that's fine, that they wanted to go there and they wanted to dance and they wanted to get fun. I get it. But also the town asked us back here in 2005 as owners to put units to bring people into the harbor. Now people, they start moving out of the harbor. I already have 3 tenants who left from my place. Tenants have been there for 12 years, 14 years, and 17 years. Now I have another one moving out because of the news. The lady on 124 right across the street from the Hiberia Tavern, she just saw her on the last month. She can't take any noise. So we contacted the police station and they have a lot of complaints. So they suggested that we should get all the complaints that they have on the records. And we should come to the select. 3 weeks ago, we have 20 guys fight. They started outside the Hiberia. They moved to the liquor store, right across to the Japanese restaurant. And that's where the police came. So I think it's something that it needs to be done. It's said when you go to work every day, and then when you come home, 4 feet away, you have your bedroom, and you have somebody downstairs playing with the full band, obnoxious music for hours. And I try actually to approach one of them as a nice person. I said, can you please at least close the front door to kind of keep as much as you can do this? And then in the answer he was, well, I have a license, you can do whatever you like, just like that. So this is not the way that anybody wants to live. This is very conservative.
Can I say something? So I looked into the matter as Mr. Malios came in last week. Right now, Ms. Tardoff is only asking for the transfer of a liquor license. She is asking for no entertainment. The entertainment licenses for Hibernian and the Galley are very specific of what they can have, and they're specific for the hours. So I think, and they go to midnight.
They don't go to midnight, they go in 1 o'clock.
No, the licenses, I saw the licenses. The licenses go to midnight. So if they're actually operating on their license, then people need to call the police or report it to the select board.
So
It's
when you
not-
say they have license to have the business.
May I say something here?
Sure.
You know, you were gracious enough to call me the other day, and I appreciate the phone call and the ability to have a conversation with you, but I think we're talking about a couple different things here. You know, I'm looking to transfer a liquor license. I'm looking to make sure that I'm in compliance with the regulations with the planning board. What is going on with your issues with the different establishments has nothing to do with me. You know, obviously everything you said to me in our conversation, I took to heart, and I went to the Scituate Police Department. I had a full report provided to me with every complaint that has been made in the last year with the two establishments you were talking about. And I also did the same for my establishments, one of which is in Scituate Harbor and one of which was on the Driftway, which I closed a couple weeks ago. There were about 15 complaints with the two restaurants you're talking about. And my restaurants had 0 complaints. And what I wanted to express to you in our conversation is that we all run businesses differently. I am never going to be someone that's like, I own bars. That's not what I do. I own restaurants. I'm a very food-driven, food-focused, business. I think anybody in town knows that. I close on New Year's Eve early. I close on the 4th of July. My staff, when they leave my restaurant, because I'm probably the earliest to close, they do frequent those spots. But that is not what I want to do. That's not what I want to promote. I'm not looking to make your life harder by having another option for people to go to. So
Well,
I understand that you are jaded at this point in time as a resident that lives in the business district. However, I don't feel like I should be put in the hot seat because of things that are happening when I don't have any track record of that being part of what I'm doing. And that's what I was trying to say to you on the phone. And I understand, everything in life is time, we're gonna have to get to know.
I understand that, but also I wanted to explain to everybody what we're going through, so they can be able to protect us, at least from this point on. Because this is my first time that I came to the board in 25 years that I'm in Scituate. I've never come here, I've never talked to anybody. The only person that I'm actually, it's this lady, she gave me the permit back 1999. Okay?
One of the, I have sat through Board of Selectmen hearings for liquor licenses. They're the place to go. They are the ones that are responsible, and if the music is supposed to be acoustic, it's not supposed to be bass, it's not supposed to be heavy metal. And I know one of the restaurants you're talking about, because I had to go around it at one point. We all need to cooperate, we all do. And I think what you might want to consider doing, sir, is to get yourself on the agenda with the Board of Selectmen and go in with the litany of the complaints and so on, and have them talk about those liquor licenses and whether or not they need to be altered. I think that is the route that you need to take. As far as Ms. Torndorf is concerned, this is pretty cut and dry here, and will have absolutely, it should not have any effect, any noisier than Dunkin' Donuts was. So I understand. I mean, I was there when those 4 apartments went in. I understand what you're going through, because it's changed. What used to be a fine and dime, it's changed.
And I totally understand that. And I totally try to do the best I can. At this point, they've got worse.
It's out of control, and it's not up to the planning board to bring it into control. It is up to the Board of Selectmen.
So, Mr.
to bring
Mallon,
it.
And I will do that.
now, we would advise you that we hear you, we understand what you're saying to us. That's not our purview.
No, I totally understand, but also I want you guys to know,
Yeah, we
because
know.
she's here for a license, and I don't know, she's getting a license today, and then tomorrow it's a different story, because we have a license.
Well, we don't-
That's what the issue. I have no issue with it. I own a restaurant for 21 years in Portland, myself.
We
But-
don't grant liquor licenses here, and we don't grant entertainment licenses, but we do hear you, and we do charge other folks, so we do hear you. And thank you for coming and letting us
Very
know.
well. Thank you very much. I
You
appreciate
need to
you.
call the police in real time. If something's happening there, the police need to be called in
Right away.
real time,
By the way,
right away,
Not the day after.
not the day after, etc.
We call the police every time we're on the phone.
I'm just saying,
Just-
it's the selectmen and the police, so that's.
Very well.
but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody
So,
else?
just to follow up on that, I just want to be clear, there's no plan for live music in this restaurant.
Well, that's not really regarding this meeting, because there is a plan for live music in the restaurant. It doesn't mean I'm gonna have drums playing at midnight. I would like to have a jazz band on Sundays. But that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's this is not an entertainment license hearing right now, or is it?
No, it's not. It is not
Right.
an entertainment license hearing.
Well, it's a discussion.
And what I was gonna
about
advise
whether
to
we're gonna
him is
waive
that-
Site plan review,
Pardon me?
is what it is. It's a discussion about whether we're going to waive site plan review. That's what this is about.
My
Correct.
plan
So
is,
I wanna understand what the plan is, and if the plan, nobody brought up the fact that, you're planning to have live music there.
We can't,
So I wanted to know,
I have an application
it's
in.
relevant.
Sure, and you have every right to know, and my application is in with the Board of Selectmen to have an entertainment license, whether that be having, you know, a songwriter play every once in a while, or having a jazz brunch every once in a while, but it's a 1,900 square foot restaurant. It doesn't really have the platform for live music, and it's really not the concept that I'm going for. But I would like to have the option if I'd like to have a songwriter come in and play. I think in the 10 years I've been in the town, I have a pretty good track record of making sure that's done pretty responsibly and professionally. I'm not trying to be defensive here. I just, you know, it's a little upsetting to me with this whole entertainment thing. Like, I've never had bands. I don't do that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you know, to be able to have a jazz band on a Sunday, I think is only bringing something to the town. You know, I'm not in the business of keeping people up at night. If in a perfect world, I'd be in bed at 8 o'clock every night, you know?
All set then?
is the board all set? You have a, whatever,
Something to read?
something for me to read, please? Thank you so much. Move to approve the site plan waiver for 108 to 110 Front Street, Kara Torndorf, for a 42-seat restaurant, Casa Verde, in the old Dunkin' space, with improvements to be according to the plans submitted with the application and attached herein, including the rendering of a proposed sign. There is no proposed site work at this time, and the building work is minor in nature of effect. No outdoor seating is approved or allowed by this waiver.
Do a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So approved, Ms. Jordan, good luck.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
My understanding is she's for the select board on the 24th of September.
Sorry,
She's before the select board on the 24th of September.
but then, license.
Yes.
To transfer the liquor license. I didn't know about an entertainment.
That
See,
would-
that's how I began that was started. And this is where we face, this is.
Doesn't look that the same like they're doing the entertainment.
I have
We
no
have no
idea.
idea.
I have no idea. I just know she was going to transfer the liquor license, and she's on the 24th. I don't know anything about entertainment. That's not my purview.
So at 6:45, we have a discussion with Curtis Estate subdivision. Completion date is October 1, 2024. Is there anybody here?
Well, there's residents here, but I assume you're asking for
I'm
the
looking for
development.
here an owner, a spokesperson.
Ms. Lambert, we'll just say if you are here virtually, and you are here to speak on that, you just need to raise your hand. Ms. Lambert, no one is raising their hand currently.
Mr. Griffin, what did you say?
I was saying, give you a quick update.
Well, can you come up to the table and everybody can hear you, they can play?
You're authorized to speak for them.
I'm just trying to help you guys, that's all. I talked to Paul today, so I just want to let the board know where it's at anyways. You're probably aware of the fact that there's been a little bit of a fallout between some of the partners in development. Mr. Sharon is down in Florida and called me today.
That's okay.
Let me stop you right there. I am not aware of any of those things. So, I mean, maybe some people
I
are.
was aware of the fallout.
I don't know anything,
Okay.
so.
So again, whether there's financial issues or what's going on, but supposedly Mr. Gillespie was going to be either on the Zoom tonight or here in person, so I came in early. I'm here actually for zoning at the end, but Paul said, at least let them know that I am not gonna be there at the meeting to present it. They got word to Donnie this morning to come in, and Paul apologizes and says if for some reason Donnie is not here, could they please postpone this? call to see what we can do at the next meeting. That's about it.
The agenda went to Mr. Sharon, Mr. Gillespie, this guy Andrew Reardon, who was also put on the email, and Mr. Doug Sharon, who was a silent partner. So I emailed them all the agenda.
And nobody wants to come talk to us.
Yes, not?
Do we want a continuance?
We have given him a continuance, have we not already?
What are we gonna?
Well, right now-
Nobody's here to talk about it, so
right
I'm not
now-
continuing it.
Right now, they're supposed to have the subdivision complete by October 1st. Okay? As you well know, I mean, that involves as-bills, that involves a whole procedure in the subdivision control law to try to get your surety back. I don't have any of that.
So they don't get their surety back.
Well, so,
What happens on October 2nd?
well, the board's gonna have to decide that. I mean, theoretically, you could continue it to your meeting on the 26th and make a decision. I mean, I might suggest that you give them till January 3rd, and if they don't respond, that you call the surety back. And that's the type of motion that you make.
Why January 5th? What's the magic? Why
Whatever
16?
date, or whatever date you pick, whatever date you pick.
I don't understand why. So everybody's notified, nobody said anything.
Well, the problem, I'm gonna tell you what the problem is. The problem is that surveyor won't release the as-bills because the surveyor hasn't been paid.
But the plan is done, I believe.
But that just, the as-bills are one of several things that have to be submitted for a surety release. And then the board has 45 days in which to act. So I was trying to allow some time for 45 days, but right in the subdivision control law, you have to have as-built plans. If they want their surety back, they have to have a certificate of compliance saying they completed everything. They need the as-built. They need all the inspection reports. They need a written certification by the board's engineer. They need a written certification from the Board of Health. They need a written certification from the Conservation Commission. And they have to have copies or a reference to necessary instruments. So it's not just a little thing to do. I mean, it's up to the board what you want to do. I really think that you should give them a chance because calling surety is not fun.
Yeah, we know that.
I mean, it gets very messy, etc.
Well, I would say, speaking into the void is not fun either. If
No,
there's no
I-
communication back, what are
Agreed.
we supposed to do?
Agreed. I mean, I took a drive out there today and I'm not even sure they've done all the things that were on the last list of stuff to do. The hydrants still aren't painted. There's no field. The condition that the septic system be a field, well, that's just mowed grass.
So they still have quite a bit of work to do.
Well, I wouldn't characterize it as quite a bit, but they have work to do.
Well, I would say have to come in at the next meeting.
Right, I can summon them again for the next meeting and express that the board is very disappointed that nobody showed that this has to be addressed or the surety will be called. I mean, I can put an email to that effect together.
That works.
You should.
That works. Do we need a motion for continuance?
But it was just a discussion. So,
Just, yeah, Karen, I know that you're
yeah,
resident here, would you like to speak? to this man?
Please, thank you. Hi, I'm Bill Smith, 5 Carriage House Way, and I know some of the information that just came out about the financial issues with the developers, which is really not our issue or your issue, but seems to me it's pretty obvious they just abandoned the project. And that's weird. That's the bottom line. They're not doing anything. In 2 years, they have probably done 3 days worth of work.
And it just goes on and on. I don't know, I talked to today, both Paul Sharon and Paul Maravito. And, you know, as previously said, he's not getting paid, so he's not giving the outcome, so. And it's like a catch-20, I don't blame him either, but I mean, it's a catch-22 that, we're sort of sitting here, the residents, and, you know, it's not really getting done, but it's not getting accepted by the town. I understand you don't want to accept it. I don't see how we can do anything except, have the bond paid for Paul Maravito, have him submit his as-bills, and I realize you don't want to do that. I wouldn't want to do it if I was you either, but nothing's gonna happen. It's been literally 2 years. I moved in 2020.
So
It just sits there.
So I know that you're in the business, so you know how hard it is to call Sherry.
Yeah.
It's really messy, so.
Yeah, it's a pain in the neck, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
So.
But, you know, in 5 years, what do we do? The same conversation? Because they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And Paul, who had been doing, once in a while, he'd do something, as of yesterday, sent me an email saying, I'm done, go talk to Don Gillespie, who hasn't done anything in 2 years, nothing. So that's where it is. I don't know what else to say, I don't know. We're just trying to,
How much is the Sherry?
Appreciate it.
I think you have $50,000 bond. I think that's what we reduced it to last.
I know we reduced it at one point, yes.
So
Well,
if we had to call a surety, which you don't wanna do, but if we had to, that probably, you think Karen would take care of paying some of these items and getting the as-bills and everybody else in there to take care of things?
is that not money?
I hope it's enough money. I mean, the board thought so at the time. So, you
give
know,
us the money, I'll get it done.
you know, I will start broaching the conversation before the next meeting with town council.
So we
Yeah.
have,
Can you ask Paul what the outstanding bill is?
which one?
Paul Maravito, someone from last year. For Paul.
10,000?
I don't know how much it is.
Somebody else's. About 10,000.
So I've been told, so.
Well, let us confer with town council, and we'll work our way through this, and you'll have to come back for another meeting, or a couple of years, and we'll continue this, so like here.
We can hear them on the, September 26th. I mean, we have one item on, and well, it'll be second, you're gonna have to already have something first,
Okay.
but, so we can have them there. I'll send an email, and I will, you know, when we talk to town council next week, I'll,
Did you say September 26th?
2 weeks from,
Okay.
so 2 weeks from
Yeah.
tonight. Because that's technically before the October 1st date. We originally decided we wanted to pay it earlier in the month because it takes action to do something.
So can you make up a motion to go on?
Is there any other comments?
Do you want to continue? I want to continue the discussion.
Oh, is there any?
Is there?
He may wanna, there may be another question
Anybody
on
else?
that.
Do you have another comment, sir? Would you like to,
Yes, I'm just curious,
please state your name. and
Yes.
address. Thank you.
Bernard Daniel, I live at 1 Carriage House Way. I was curious as to find out, what is the amount of the bond as it stands?
I said I think $50,000.
$50,000.
I didn't, you know, so
50,000.
50,000, what was it first?
250,000.
250,000.
And I'm kind of sitting back and somewhat worried that we're discussing if there's enough or not. Why was it reduced in the first place without actual facts and?
We had numbers, we had numbers.
Yeah, the engineers look at it, and it's all been in the past, you know.
So there should be no worry,
Well, but
because
you understand,
You know.
prices escalate over
It's 2
time.
years later.
2 years later.
So it should be sufficient, but prices escalate. That's, you know, we do our best to try to, you know, get the numbers right.
okay, oh, yeah, that was my question.
Yeah, like I said, it's very common practice, we get big bond to committee, you know, how much we use things. It's cost a lot of money to put out a bond. So, we'll give them another 2 weeks, so we'll speak to town council, and we will take his advice, and we'll let everybody know what happens. 2 weeks.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you much.
Just make one
Yes.
comment. Generally, it's less expensive for the developer to actually finish what he needs to finish than have the town pull the bond and do it through the town. So it would probably be in the interest to push the developer to actually get the stuff finished. 'Cause they'll get more bang for the buck if it happens that way. And, I'll actually do
You're
what
not
I
here.
can do to
Pretty hard,
get.
Mr. Bill,
How
they
do we
don't
push
show
them
up.
if they're not here?
Yeah,
Well, that's why I say 2 weeks is great.
Yeah.
I'll be on the phone with Paul as soon as I step back out of here
Yeah.
again. And I will do my best,
Yeah.
just as a developer in town, to try to make sure that one of them is either on the box or in the room.
Can you tell them I find it a little disrespectful that we didn't have an invitation and they come?
I'm actually here to apologize for Paul Senior, if you can believe that. I don't think that that's necessarily where the big problem lies.
Okay,
So I'll look into it further and try and help it along if I can.
all right, so we will continue this until September 26th. Second motion is what you want to do.
I would suggest that the motion is final invitation. I'm not gonna push it another 2 weeks.
And I was repeating.
This is best and final. If you're here, you're not. Right, if you're not, then we're gonna move forward.
So move to continue discussion for a final invitation until September 26th.
Yes.
Yes. With the inclusion of the letter, the full surety.
With the final determination of the surety.
Sure.
So there you go. Second to that motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Work is
Paul,
cut out.
thanks.
Thank you, we'll be in touch.
Thank you. And now we have,
Now we have a 7 P.M., we have a Countryway residential compound development, a request to release the bond to Mr. Nader, who I see is online.
And Mr. Nader, you should be able to unmute and start your video. If you don't know how to do that, I can send you an alert. There you
Good
go.
evening.
Good evening, everyone. I apologize I wasn't able to make it in person. I helped teach a course in Boston and had a conflict tonight. So thanks for your flexibility.
One good thing about Zoom, we get to talk to everybody. It's right outside to this. What can you tell us, Mr. Nader?
Sure. So as you know, the homes, the 5 homes, 477 to 485 Countryway were completed a little over 2 years ago and were all sold. The bond was held for a handful of items that were to be completed. We completed the as-built, removed the utility pole, and have since paved Countryway to the satisfaction of the Department of Public Works. So we're looking to have $125,000 bond released now that everything is complete and there has been a transfer of ownership.
Thank you, Karen.
Well, I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit. We have an outstanding few items on the as-built that haven't been complete. And, I've basically been told that if I don't release the bond, it's punitive damages.
you've been threatened?
Yes.
No, that's not acceptable.
So, I mean, it's very little to actually fix the as-built. I mean, I think that the as-built should be fixed, and I don't, all the other work has been done except fixing the as-built.
That's all that's outstanding.
That's all that's outstanding.
And all these other things like the certifications, compliance and all that, we have all that.
We did get a certification before.
So there's literally nothing else.
It's what's on John's checklist.
What about Intercountry Way? Was that?
They did that.
They did that, okay.
And DPW said that was okay. They just did that within the past month.
That's just.
So DPW said that was okay.
And what needs to be done in the as-built?
There was a whole list, with John Cheshire's things.
Give me the email.
I didn't bring that in. I'm
May
sorry.
May I quickly review them? Please let me know if someone else would like to speak first.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I don't know if I can share my screen or if I can just read it, but Mr. Chessie's review comments state Based on my review of the prior interim and current as-built, including overlaying the plans to compare the approved post-development plan to the as-built conditions, the plans are in substantial conformance to the approved design. Houses are located within a few feet of the proposed design, as well as existing driveway locations. Utilities are all indicated as required. I note that frequently the DPW requires ties to water shutoffs, et cetera. This aspect should be confirmed with the Department of Public Works and provided if required. That work was completed. The next handful of comments, numbers 3 through 9, are just comments based on Mr. Chessia's preferences for what he'd like to see in the as-built. They regard some additional requests for meets and bounds, additional data that wasn't requested in the first and second review of the as-built. This was an additional request in February of this year. They requested that the landscape be added to the as-built, which was added. And then after the fact, it was requested that an additional legend be added so that there was more description. Again, that wasn't with the first request. We've already revised this twice, so we're trying to minimize the number of go-arounds here. There was a typo with the word proposed. I apologize for that one. But the final numbers there, numbers 8 and 9, are in regards to the current state of the property. That indicates that there may be some sheds that need to be as-builted. There's a question of where those are located. However, again, these properties have been sold. A number of these properties have been sold twice now. And there are deed restrictions in place for the use of the property and where those sheds can and cannot be relocated. We don't have an enforcement mechanism to do that, and I don't believe it's appropriate to be requesting us to update the as-built or the current status of potentially the second owner of a property that has since sold.
Karen?
And it's up to the board. I thought it was appropriate for the board to make a determination. I mean, John does say most of the stuff is there. A few things aren't. If that's good enough for the board, then I would suggest you release the bond.
Louis?
I'm not worried about the sheds, they're after the fact, right? Because the next bills are supposed to be agreeing to what was built in the beginning. But I don't have the
Is there-
list in front of me, so.
Is there a limit, is there an issue about the other as-built activities? You listed a bunch of things, is there an issue about updating it?
Sorry, those first comments were all that based on his review that the as-built is accurate and reflects the current information. As far as adding a legend for trees, we've already shown the trees and we're just gonna have to spend engineering money to add a legend that was a request after the fact. I don't understand the reason to include that for record, and there's gonna be additional plantings in the future that potentially have occurred over the last 2 years since this as-built was submitted. And I don't want to go back out and survey the field for a requirement that wasn't present when we submitted the original as-built.
So, well, you said meets and bounds, some additional data, I don't know what that even means. You said a legend, you said a typo, and then the shed as-bills. So you're saying none of those are necessary?
In my opinion, no. Again, Mr. Chessia's initial comment there is that everything is consistent with the design intent and the approved intent. We have a $125,000 bond here that has been held for over 2 years after construction completion, and it costs us.
That's not true.
We completed the subdivision and sold all the properties 2 years ago. This cost us about $5,000 a year to maintain. So we're looking for a release of that to not have additional requests of as-built revisions continue to hold up and cost us additional money on a property that has 5 happy families living in there.
Okay, so are you going to do the as-bills that John's requested? Let's leave the sheds out.
If these revisions are absolutely necessary in the board's opinion, sure, I will have Mr. Grady revise them based off of the information he has. I do not want him to go back out there and have to complete another survey for the additions that have been made since completing the subdivision. But I don't believe.
The as-built gets updated as Mr. Jesse has requested, then what is that? Releasing file.
And
Yes, go ahead.
I would just like to add, sorry.
No, go ahead, Mr. Chair, go ahead.
I would just like to add that the specific language in the permit approval notes the submission of the as-built as the requirement for returning the surety, not the third revision with additional comments. So we believe that for the language of the approval, we have satisfied the requirements. And to continue to have to pay for peer review services and engineering services to simply add a list of the names of trees that are already recorded in the initial landscaping plan seems like overkill.
Well, then the as-built wasn't adequate to begin with if it had multiple revisions. It's up to the board. If you want to release the money, release the
All
amount.
right, Karen, I need to understand something, please. What was said to you if we didn't release this?
Read the email I sent you. The email was sent that the work has been completed according to plans and reflected in as-built years ago. John Cheshire's comments regarding field observation must be directed to the current owners of the property. Please release the bond and mail it to the address provided. There is no need for you to be holding the bond. The cost of the bond on an annual basis is expensive, and so all the work has been performed. Holding this bond would constitute unnecessary punitive damages.
Which I think that last sentence was totally and completely unnecessary. And
Mr. Andy Nader did not make that statement. That was made by Tony Nader.
I don't care who made it.
I'm saying he did not.
I don't care who made
No,
it.
I understand.
And this is what I want. I would release that surety in a heartbeat, but I want an apology for that last sentence.
And I would like to apologize, Karen, and I do believe that was overstepping. I apologize for the language of my father's email. And I also apologize for my father's dyslexic and is not an attorney. And as you'll see in all of his emails, there's plenty of typos and things can be taken out of context that verbally may make sense to him, but when written will not. That does not excuse the statement that it could be perceived as punitive damages. I believe he was just trying to express that this is costly to us and we'd like to resolve this and have the bond released. I do apologize for the way that that language came across.
So once again, those of us have to apologize for our old parents for saying things that are a little out of line, right? We've all had to do that, unfortunately, just to get away. I don't have a problem with that. I would accept that apology.
Yeah, that's fine. I just don't like it when stuff like that gets in emails.
Right, it's not good.
No.
Not good.
Laura,
It's not productive.
anything that you'd like to add?
No.
Yeah. So,
Do we have a motion?
No, I didn't make a motion. I didn't know how,
I would make a motion that we release the surety.
I will second the motion as stated.
I will modify that motion,
Okay.
because I still think there sounds like there are modifications that need to be made to the as-built. And I'm fine with releasing surety, but I want some commitment that you're gonna finalize the as-bills.
Mr. Nader, did you hear that?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I'm confused. Are the as-bills complete?
No.
no, John opines they're substantially there, but asks for a few more things.
And are those few more things added after the initial?
Yes.
Yes. Because we get an
Have an
as-built,
as-built till the as-bilt's final.
right, and so you review it, they make corrections to it, and then they submit it again. And this is not a new letter, it's a letter from a while ago.
So can we just decide what needs to be done?
Yeah, what exactly? What happens, Karen?
What is outstanding?
One, we the sheds have to be put on.
No. We have no control over those sheds.
So why don't we say to release surety with a commitment to finalize the comments without the comment of the shed?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine. That okay, Mr. Nader?
Is that a release in the future at a future planning board, or is that upon receipt? Again, the issues at hand here are largely a legend for trees and shrubs that are already shown on the plan. And I don't, there's, for the statement to be made that this drawing is not complete, I don't believe that to be accurate, because again, John's initial comment states, based on my review, this is consistent and conforms to the approved design. I don't believe that there is a standard by which as-built must be submitted, and there isn't language that we have ever seen that specifically requires a legend for trees and shrubs. Again, the first version of the as-built that was submitted, the question was raised by John in his peer review comments: is it appropriate to show the landscaping? It was then reflected afterwards, yes, we'd like to see the landscaping added. We added the landscaping, and now we're being asked to add a legend.
What about the bounds?
Yes, what about you? We need to see this.
So I'm not entirely sure what specifically that means, that there should be meet and bounds description data for the easements. The easements themselves are recorded instruments that have specific, they're recorded separately from this document, and that easement information. I'm sorry?
We're ready, yes, I know.
So the easement information itself is included on record elsewhere.
You know what, enough. Enough. I move to release the surety and let it go. Enough is
I
enough.
disagree,
Well, that's fine.
disagree. I think the motion on the table is everything that needs to get addressed except the sheds, what we addressed. It doesn't sound like it's hard, and we're not talking about holding up the surety
No.
release, so I don't see that this is a draconian request.
I agree with Steve.
But is that the motion?
That's the motion on the table.
That's the motion on the table.
Okay.
Derek, can you read that back to us, please?
Release surety with a commitment to finalize comments without the sheds.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. What's that, Mr. Nader?
Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Good night. Right.
I did send you the email
Yeah.
because of the content of the email. I sent you the link.
Okay. He had to apologize.
Because, yeah, we're not gonna get that. Okay, so now we're on to approve, to our 7:30. Oh, wait, we 4 minutes ahead. Old business, new business. Do we have any minutes to approve? Yeah. She's saying.
No, I did. I move to approve, planning board minutes of 8/22/24.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye. Counting,
I'm sure we spent some money.
questions on what?
Just one note.
Just one
Oh,
bill.
on bill. Yeah. Move to approve the following requisitions, $217.50 to Chesley Consulting Services LLC for peer review services, updated as built 533 Country Way.
Second, all in favor? Aye. So now we're gonna come to our favorite part of the night, we're gonna update the MBTA communities.
Mostly,
No news,
Is
no
that-
news yet. I mean, right now, they've said our application is complete and, we haven't heard anything since.
Or you can wait.
So that's where we are. I don't know if the 90 days, technically the 90 days is supposed to start from when we submit it. But they've been changing their mind on what requirements are, so, you know,
Hard to tell,
hard to tell.
hard to tell. Should they tell us no, we're gonna say yes, how's that? So then we're gonna come to the zoning for our 2025 town meeting, so Karen has.
So I sent you all the 9/5/24 draft changes.
Steve, you want to copy this?
I forgot to print copies today, I'm by myself for 3 days, so, we start to have everything back to normal next week when
Chris,
I-
what about this?
when my assistant is here, full time.
But
I know, which is fabulous.
So based on your comments from the last time, I went back and on the bylaw, the accessory dwelling, I put an applicability section in. And then I moved all the other stuff to site plan, special permit procedures and conditions. So I did all that. And I put in a new definition of it. We put in a new definition of dwelling unit. Chris Karsha has been consulting on this and helping us do this. And we put in a definition of kitchen facilities. Because that seems to be a problem for the board. That being said, we found out, Chris went to a seminar this week on accessory dwellings, that, I had no idea about. And they were saying some things that we don't have here yet. So it's a little bit discouraging, because, HLC doesn't even know yet if they're gonna promulgate regs. They're gonna make a decision in the next 30 days if they're gonna promulgate regs. Technically, this is supposed to be in effect February 3rd, and, the timing's just all wrong. I mean, because it takes place 180 days from when the governor signed the bill, and nobody will have done their springtime meetings by then. So those are just a couple of things that are wrong with the bill, with the law, but we're trying to work to adjust it. We have to add some more definitions. I'm working on a section about site plan review. We're trying to quantify what they're going to need in site plan review. So it's, some of the interpretations they're coming out with are a little discouraging. I mean, an accessory dwelling is supposed to be accessory to the primary dwelling. Well, they're saying that you can, or in the first seminar that I listened to, it said, you can have these as condos. And I don't understand how you can have it as condos with two different owners when one building is supposed to be accessory to the other. So, who said that? It was on a seminar with, Judy Barrett and this Amy. She was somebody from Copeland and Page.
is it written in the law?
No,
Not yet,
no.
you never
So
heard
people
someone,
are just throwing out ideas.
People are throwing out ideas of what it applies to. I mean, I gave you, a few weeks ago, I gave you the Affordable Homes Act. I mean, and so we have a section 7 and a 7 and an 8, and it defines accessory dwelling. And so we put that in there. And then because the board said they wanted to do, a special permit for the ones that are bigger, we learned the other day that we really should be calling them large accessory dwellings to differentiate them from the ones that are, quote, by right.
This doesn't quite pass the straight face test.
No.
It really does
you've
not.
never heard somebody lawyers say, that's a great question, I don't know the answer. Take a listen
Well,
to the
listen,
seminar.
I think they need to all figure it out.
Well, unfortunately,
The problem is
it's
it's law.
like MBTA thing, we're
Yeah.
working our way through it.
And so, we have one huge vague sentence in there that town council told me he didn't know what it meant. For more than one accessory dwelling unit or rental thereof in a single family residential zoning district, there shall be a special permit for the use of land or structures for an accessory dwelling unit.
That makes no sense.
This seems to imply that you can have more than one accessory dwelling unit on the lot, and it's by special permit.
Absolutely.
And so it's a little bit, I don't have that in there yet, I'm getting it in there, but, you know, I think that we need to put qualifiers in there for that. I mean, qualifiers being that maybe it has to have 10,000 more square feet per the accessory dwelling unit beyond the requirement of what's required for the lot area.
I agree, yes,
So that's
I mean,
what we're
so-
doing, stuff like
right,
that.
right.
We are having a conversation with town council next week, because the more we get into this, the more confusing it becomes, because nothing really does make sense. I mean, we think we have to add more definitions here, we think we have to add attached accessory dwelling unit, detached accessory dwelling unit, accessory dwelling within, large accessory dwelling. I mean, so what we had is a simple, successful bylaw has now been a little bit destroyed. I mean,
It wasn't broken, why do we feel the need to fix it?
because
Because
the
it's
thing
decided.
Yeah.
Well, no, but you know what? One size doesn't always fit all.
Well, we got that, so we're going to say
I
that.
mean, the law is the law, right,
the
so
law is the
you
law.
gotta deal with the law,
This is
and
how
the
they-
question is,
This is
what
how,
happens on February third? We won't enact it. If
Nobody
we don't
knows.
change anything, if we just say we're gonna kick it down the road another 6 months,
well,
till everybody gets their act together.
well, what happens on February 3rd, I briefly talked about town council, is you will have already had your public hearings. So.
No, I'm
if-
saying, kick public hearings and everything down the road, do this another 6 months later,
well,
right? Let the state get their act together, and sort of define all this stuff.
then you
Rather
don't have
than
any,
us
then,
reading
then
into
then
it.
you have no control. Then you have no control, you have zero control. At least if you have a public,
I still have it, zoning bylaw.
no, it'd
We know the point there.
be null and void, it's been applied. So I think that the wise way to go is to still go on the path that we're going, you know, and try to get something as close as possible. And just like with MBTA, we had to go back and revise some stuff after they changed that law again. I mean, I'm just trying to get what you guys want for concepts down on paper now. And I've missed some things, obviously, because, you know, it becomes very unclear what the
Yeah, I
definition.
just don't wanna guess at things, maybe guessing for something.
Well,
We're
Seems
not
like a
really,
waste
well,
of
we're not really guessing, but we're
I know.
getting, the
Sounds
problem
like
is
it's
the problem is you're getting more and more information. That then you now have to somehow slide into
Well,
our
what more
bylaw.
information are we getting?
Well, like
We
we
have the
found
law,
out about-
that's all we got.
Well, we found out about this large accessory dwelling issue, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's somebody's opinion, the law does not say define large versus.
no, it doesn't, but what she was trying to say is, it's going to make it cleaner for you in the end.
I mean, what's cleaner than 900 square feet either above or below? I mean, that's pretty clear.
I understand, I thought so too, but she's trying to say, you know, what's by right and what's by special permit. You need to make sure you're crystal clear in your bylaw.
So,
And so,
900 square feet or less, that's right.
right, but you wanted a special permit for something.
Yeah, anything above 900 square feet,
So we have
special
to write
permit.
that.
No, but that's not how the law reads, Steve. The law reads 50% of the gross floor area of the primary dwelling or 900 square feet, whichever is less.
That's what I'm saying.
You
So
guys-
anything that meets that definition is as of right. Anything that exceeds that definition up to the limit we put is a special permit. It seems pretty clear to me.
But they want you to call it something else, so it's
Who's
not.
they?
The state,
These lawyers from this meeting, because they said to not confuse by right and special permit. You can absolutely have a special permit, but they
You
just
say
don't,
that in here.
they just don't want to confuse things. I mean, Chris attended the seminar, I mean, it was an online Zoom
I
one.
listened to it.
And Patty and I listened to the first one, he listened to the second one, where they had whether they had more lawyers there. And it's kind of, you know, what does an accessory dwelling apply to? I mean, accessory dwelling, our bylaw says a single family dwelling. Well, that's not some other people's interpretation.
So how are you gonna decide?
Well, we're gonna talk to town council and,
You know, again, you're saying it's an interpretation, then you go either direction,
yes, I mean,
right?
they say single family residential zoning district. So what does that mean? And how does that impact us? So what other definitions do we have to clarify this?
But you don't know that. I guess
No,
that's
we
my
don't
point.
know.
You
We
don't
don't.
know what that means, so how do we clarify that?
Well, the other issue is we're waiting for EOHLC to give us some guidance, which they give the MBTA, and they're gonna decide that in 30 days.
They may not give
And
any
they might not give
guidance.
any guidance, but we're waiting to see if they give us some kind of guidance.
At this point, I think we have to rely on what our town council tells us. I mean, our town council is, you know, they've gotta be out there looking at all this stuff too, you know, and I'm just saying, I think the concepts here are what you want. I mean, we might not be able to do some of these things. I mean, one of the things just the other day said you can't limit the number of bedrooms. Because you can't regulate the interior. You can't regulate ownership. I mean, these are what they were saying the other day, and so,
Really ownership,
right,
Yeah.
I thought that was the point.
well, you know, so this is why we're trying to talk to town council. We have a Zoom meeting scheduled with town council for next week, and we're going to, you know, we've taken a stand so far. Town council doesn't want to put any refinements at the moment. But, I mean, I need to know concept-wise if we're going in the right way. I have to introduce some more concepts to you, and, you know,
Well, I will say this, I think we laid out what we thought were the right concepts, right? What you're saying is that the interpretation, the intent of the law will be different than what we've already laid out. I don't know the answer to that one, right? Somebody else has to tell us what the intent of the law is, and if it was different than what we've laid out here, but if you want, I guess my answer on this is, we talked about this was what we proposed, right? And, you know, all these other things where other lawyers may be opining about, you know, how broad or how narrow this is. I mean, you can probably get 5 of them in a room and all have a different answer, right?
right.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know how we sort that out.
Well,
Just trying.
but
The
so,
judge does,
What's
let
that?
me
the
give you,
judge does.
Right, so,
So
I
let me
mean,
give
at that point, let's just do what we think the bill says.
let me give you a concrete example. In applicability, we put detached accessory dwellings allowed by special permit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we can have. Based on,
But you're not sure we can either.
no, I'm not sure. But I would think town council would have a definite opinion of that now.
We have questions for that.
I mean, so that's where we are. I mean, I did what we kind of wanted to do, and then, you know, we'll have to start taking away and adding where necessary.
I would say I don't know that I have enough information to change anything else we really have. If town council has more interpretations, then let's hear it, right?
Right, so that's what we're meeting with town council next week, so that hopefully we can refine stuff for the meeting on the 26th.
Is it just another slot, like we did with the MBTA? No, it's what it has.
Well, no, it sounds like there's a much broader view of what is or isn't included here. This sounds very broad.
Yes.
I mean, it's,
We have our accessory dwelling. I know Marsh Street has a very different one. Just, well, what are the other towns now?
Normal has 900 square feet.
Norwell changed their definition 2 years ago when the definition started to talk, when they started talking this definition. However, Norwell has some of the same requirements that I want to put in. You know, it's limited to bedrooms. Well, everybody in the state is going to have to change their bylaws. They were telling us look at Greenfield, look at these,
Look
this
at
town,
it.
look at this town. So we started looking at them, they all need changing to comply with the state law.
Everybody, so again, it's like the MBTA, everybody has to kind of follow the lines, it's gonna be a lot of work.
I mean, all I saw is that accessory dwellings are a form of housing, and the state needs housing, and that's why this got pushed through. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, one size doesn't fit all towns, and, you know, they're trying to take away some of the home rule power of each town, and it's really.
That's what I'm saying,
They already did that
we've
with
already
the
opined
Already
on
done
what
it.
it should read like, we've already said that, right? So unless somebody comes back and says it's an absolute that the law says something different or whatever, I wouldn't change things until we've got that kind of feedback. I mean, if you've got 12 lawyers in the room, you all have different opinions, that doesn't help us at all.
And so town council wants to put this off as long as possible, but town council has to understand that we have a deadline. If this is gonna be on a spring town meeting, which it really needs to be, we're supposed to have a zoning workshop in December, and we're gonna have public hearings in January. We're really supposed to have final wording in December. I push it out every year because I tell them that we can't do it. You can't have a public hearing in December on zoning because it makes you look like you're trying to hide something from the public, and you're not trying to hide anything from the public.
I'm not.
So
I'm just saying,
I've already bought us
we've already got an
money.
interpretation, we've already developed some response to that. If there's new information that says certain elements this have to be different or something, I guess I'd like to hear it,
Well,
but, you know, but it sounds like everybody's just trying to interpret words in one direction or another. And if you want my opinion, we've integrated the as of right accessory dwelling into what Scituate has already said is how we want the accessory dwelling to work, right? One bed, right, all these things, we've already integrated that in, unless somebody tells us differently, I will stick with that. I mean, it seems like otherwise we're just gonna keep chasing the tail. It's like a week from now, somebody's gonna have a different interpretation. So we just put a stake in the ground and says, okay, we've incorporated the as of right accessory dwelling.
Yeah.
Right, we've done that by the definitions, right, site plan review only, right? For those, anything bigger, the town has already said you can have bigger. So we've said, okay, anything bigger than the as of right, still needs a special permit.
And I did put the business structures, you know, we allow accessory dwellings above business. I kept them as by special permit.
Right.
I kept, I put a special permit is required for any accessory dwelling not in residential zone district. And, so I incorporated that stuff in there. And we put the bit about short-term rentals.
Yes.
And the parking crap all up.
Was the short-term rental, was that part of the law?
Yes, it is.
It's-
Absolutely part of the law.
And the way it's written is exactly how it is.
Fix it, we'll fix it right up, I'll give you some advice.
Yep.
Is there gonna be a limit on how big? I know you had something.
The limit on it.
How big the lot size have to be, so you're, if you live around like house and your house is pretty much the size of your lot. The setbacks were.
Yeah, you still have to meet all the setbacks.
Yes, you do.
Right, you have to meet all the
Put it inside
setbacks.
your house.
Yeah, you can put it inside, right? And then it meets the criteria. So,
I thought I did put something in there. And so I don't know if that's going to be legal or not legal. But you have to meet all the current setbacks. We said for a pre-existing non-conforming house, you can't all of a sudden put an accessory dwelling in the front yard. You still have to meet all the setbacks.
which is really what we've said all along, that's what
Right,
we've heard,
we've said that.
right? So,
Kristen, do you want to say something? No, yes, it's fine.
Chris Carter, 119 Stockbridge Road, member of the zoning board. I've been working with Karen and Patty on this. I attended that seminar. my takeaway from the seminar was that these people that put on a seminar, Dark Planning Group and KP Law and whatnot, these are the gurus, these are the experts in the field. They're not all differently opined on this. They're all of the opinion that this allows anybody to put accessory dwellings on. So a couple things came to my mind. Why couldn't they just allow two families? Because that's what we're creating, is two families. Why didn't they call it two families? Because it's easier to do ADUs, it makes it simpler. We're creating two families, so that gets into a zoning issue. You know, are these ADUs or are they two families? So what, one of the things that we talked about is that we need to put in the bylaw that these ADUs have to remain in common ownership with the primary dwelling. Because this condo concept was real, they were talking these things, they're talking, these are going to be able to be condo. You know?
And that's what destroyed the housing in the city.
Yeah, California currently has a law that says, you know, that allows the sale of an ADU, which I find completely weird, but is that the direction we're going? I think we as a town need to protect ourselves as far as, you know, we don't want, you know, the likelihood of 500 people coming in and saying, well, on ADUs, not gonna happen, but we wanna be ready for any situation that comes before you guys, comes before zoning and whatnot. You know, that says we wanna do an ADU and we have the right to do it. We need to protect it. The land, you know, I think the lot size is a good place to, you know, a good way to go. I think, the common ownership. And as far as the definitions go, it just makes things easier. Somebody says, I wanna do a detached accessory dwelling. We're gonna be able to say, well, here's what you gotta do for a detached accessory dwelling. One of the comments that they brought up in the seminar was about site plan review. I'm not familiar with site plan review, but what they did ask is, ask yourself what you're looking for in site plan review, because if somebody says, I wanna do an ADU in my house, what does site plan review look like for them? I can, you know, what, you know, for a separate dwelling, you know, I can see site plan review, I can see there's something going on. But if somebody says, I'm gonna do it in my house, I'm gonna put a 10-foot addition on, but it's gonna add a ton of square footage in the house that allows me to do an ADU. So we need to really
But we already
clarify.
addressed that now. We do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Site plan review with those already.
So we're gonna add a section in site plan review, or propose we add a section that talks about ADUs. And we say exactly what we want. And what we want is everything that you want for a special permit. You want the site plan, you want the elevations, you want everything that you currently ask for.
Mhm.
And that's all I've put, that's what I'm
Yeah, I
working
think
on,
that's
all we're
putting in.
That's all we need.
Right, right, very simple,
But it's
very
the same thing
simple.
we've always done.
Right, exactly, exactly.
And we have to protect ourselves, but they try to override 48, start to take away our own rights, we've got to be careful about that. Then we have to put in all these guidelines in your own bylaw to protect you from that overriding anything that we have. That came through pretty clear in 7 out of that virus.
We've been working on the definitions, and I think just adding 100 definitions isn't gonna hurt anything. It just makes it real clear, this is what this is, what this is. They specifically called out, if you wanna do anything beyond the 900 square feet, call it something else. So if somebody doesn't come and say, I'm just doing an ADU. No, you're getting a special permit for an ADU large. You know, it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it's clear, but it's,
Yeah.
That's the,
it's probably
I'll
not
let the
for
lawyers
us.
worry about
Like
that. I think
said,
the definition's clear. But in any event, I think as long as it's, all we're doing is trying to integrate it into our existing accessory dwelling bylaw. I think that's all we need to do. I don't
But we
think
will be
should-
replacing 2 sections of our accessory dwelling bylaw.
Right.
And putting in a new stuff.
Right, but it's all intended to
Right.
provide the same oversight, basically.
So.
condos have very specific laws that they have to go, so I just still a little confused about that.
And they
And
were,
everybody
they
else
were,
was too.
they were not as confused too, but they didn't deny that.
That would
This
happen.
is a possibility.
Well, I think
And
there
it was
was,
both of them, it was Russell and
Well, that's a
Barbara
different thing,
saying
that's just a
opposite.
different animal.
but there was
Yeah,
some discussion in the new law that the accessory dwelling, that the owner did not have to live in any
That's right,
one.
That's correct.
And that's,
That doesn't mean they don't have to own it.
Right, and
It
we
just
put,
means they don't have to live.
we put that in our stuff, that the owner doesn't have to live there. Yes, we did.
So now it starts to feel like a condo.
And two different rentals.
Yeah,
two different.
And the other thing is, that years ago, back in the 90s, there was a house up on Inner Road, just beyond the lights on the left, regular house, people live with this, Stephen. And they put on, supposed to be an accessory dwelling, and they turned it into a condominium. And I'm not sure it had the right setbacks or whatever, but there are two separate units on that piece of property.
I mean, I believe in the bylaws,
No, it's
some
mine.
houses could be made into 2 condos.
Yeah.
That is allowed in our bylaws.
If you have twice the area.
Yeah.
That's the difference between an ADU and a two-family dwelling, there's clearly a difference. A two-family dwelling in town has to be connected. In the new law, there's nothing that says they have to be connected. So if you have a bylaw that's gonna say they have to be connected, it's probably gonna get thrown out by the Attorney General. The problem with this is it's so, well, it's broad, but it's clear on what they're looking for. And they're not gonna let you do certain things. So what you gotta look at is what they're not gonna let you do, and then work around it if you wanna be more lenient in some areas, like Steve was just saying. If you wanna have something larger, you certainly can have a special permit process. But myself, I would say, I would be cautious as to how much pushback you wanna give to what the state is telling you to do.
We in contact with every year. So,
It's a horrible piece of legislation.
it's terrible.
Nobody ever figured it out, and I have been studying this since the day it came out. It's a disaster, but it does have a mechanism to make it work for what they're looking for. And no, it's not exactly what the towns are looking for. Absolutely not, and they know part about not having to live in either unit. That's because homeowners are not doing enough of this. And they want 8 to 10,000 of these things in the next 5 years.
And they
The
don't have,
only way to do that is to let developers do it, and then find sites where you are gonna rent one out, then you're gonna have a separate dwelling that's gonna be there, separate accessory dwelling that can be rented to somebody else. That's the purpose behind what they're doing.
So who owns, so the developer builds a house and builds an accessory dwelling.
Yep.
So I buy the house and I have to buy the accessory dwelling, and then I have to buy the house.
It's your lot, it's one lot,
Well, both
only one lot.
Right.
I can't imagine that they're gonna pass this saying that condominiums are gonna be allowed. So you're right, it's really specific to do that, but what I've gathered from talking to all the people I've talked to as far as the tape, that everybody's thoroughly confused, all the attorneys are thoroughly confused on what's gonna happen. There is gonna be a ton of litigation. So again, I mean, Situate's always been proactive, I think, on the zoning bylaws. Thank Karen for a lot of that. But I really think you've got to look closely at what the state is making the towns do. Try to fit into some of that stuff rather than bucking against this stuff, saying, we're gonna do it this way, it doesn't matter what they say, because
We're trying to fit in, we're absolutely trying to
Nobody
fit
said
in, we're just
I
trying
think
to
the bigger
figure
issue
out.
is, I'm not sure the state has well defined what they're trying to do.
No, the state does not well define what they're trying to do,
What they try to do is build houses.
That's exactly
the
what
bottom
they're
line.
trying to do.
They're just trying to build houses. How you accomplish that, they don't really have that figured out yet, they just know that they want more housing. They can't figure out that it's not affordable, although they keep calling it the affordable home act, it's not affordable. They can't marry those two things together, so.
and an ADU, to build an ADU today would cost $250,000.
Is that how much they cost?
Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I just read it, if you have any comments, please get back to me, knowing that it is going to change for the next meeting. Because there's some stuff that's not in here that has to be in here, and we just, you know, we're trying to do it a little bit at a time, we're working on it and, you know, trying to make it so it meets the definitions in the affordable homes.
So the stuff that has to be in here, when will that be?
Hopefully by the next time.
Now, by the next time, the only thing that I don't have in here is more than one accessory dwelling unit or rental thereof. That has been a special permit, and I've already started a new version for the next meeting, and I read you that when I put it in there. I mean, so I've got that in there now, but I mean, it's, town council, the first time I talked to him about that, he said, this is just so Greek, I don't even know what to do with it. So I think I have everything in there. And the other thing that you guys wanted in here was something about cooking and
Yep.
kitchens.
Yeah.
So you need to look at those definitions and
Where
say,
did these come from? You never
No.
happened.
We talked about it.
the cooking.
No, I'm asking Karen, she's given us 3 options.
I've given you
Asking
3 options for kitchen facilities. Chris and I compared multiple different locations,
So these are different bylaws that have this kind of
different bylaws that have this type of definition. But we've combined pieces from different ones.
Okay.
So we created them ourselves,
So
just
what's-
like we
Can
did.
you give me the Cliff Note versions of the 3 different, I think kind of how you settled on those 3 different ones? Like the first one is like much more prescriptive
Yeah,
to the last one, which is more sort of open to broader interpretations or something.
Right. So I can tell you that when we worked on the first one, I listened to a lot of what Rebecca had to say about what she wants in the kitchen, what Kim wants in the kitchen, and what I would like to see in the kitchen. And that's why that's why it is as broad as it is, because
Where
it's taking everybody's
Similar
ideas.
bylaws in other
I mean,
towns that look like this.
Yes.
I took definitions on the state, I printed out a whole bunch of stuff and I copied from there, and Chris copied stuff from California and other places.
So,
And we tried to put
Oh,
it,
this is around the country, it's
we
not just.
tried to put some,
Massachusetts.
right, because the big problem seems to be that you guys were hung up with, we all are hung up with, is that just because there's an outlet there for stove and there's no stove there, they say it's not an accessory dwelling.
Yes, it is.
So in all of this research, I could probably, pull out 1,000 different versions of these ADU and dwelling definitions and whatnot. Consistently, all of them refer to cooking facilities, sleeping facility, and sanitary facilities. None of them mention kitchen facilities. So I think adding a definition of kitchen facilities on top of cooking facilities may be redundant. It does spell it out, and again, it goes back to my clarity, it just makes it clearer what I'm trying to say here. But, you can easily pull kitchen out and still, be consistent with everything that's out there right now, as far as, a definition of what a dwelling is, a definition of what an accessory dwelling is. It consists of permanent facilities for sleeping, cooking, sanitary, in some form of, those words together.
But that doesn't get you with the problem that this town has faced.
Yeah.
So,
Which is,
That there's no enforcement for what we have done.
We can, if you add the kitchen, or if, you just, make the definition of cooking facility so robust that there's no question what's in it. I think the definition we used for cooking facility included, the energy sources, intended to be used to service all of the appliances, electrical outlets, gas, plumbing, and all of that thing. If we, a lot of the comments that we get, if any of you have read section 8, 810 in the zoning bylaw, if you want word soup, I think what we're trying to avoid is word soup. So if we can be real clear, either concise and go, cooking facility includes all this, cooking facility and kitchen facility. We can spell it really clearly, and I have no problem with that, you know. A lot of this is cut and paste because we can take pieces and kind of make it say what we want it to say. I think, you know, the two of them together is it makes it very robust, and there's no questioning. There's not gonna be any question down the hall about what we're looking at. There's
So
no-
what we wanna know is, we wanna know the zoning has the same definitions that we have. So that if they don't like what we say, then they go to zoning. And they say, well, you know, your ordinance restricts a little bit, and then they say, no, we're gonna use the same definitions that you use. So that's gonna be a little clearer for all of us. So, well, we'll do our homework, that's all we can do.
Yes.
On 530.1A, applicability C, detached accessory dwellings.
I said it might have to come out. I said it might have to come out.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. This is the first time I've looked at this, just annually, so that's why I'm saying, you wanna try and keep it in line with what the state is doing, or it'll get thrown out,
It's
so.
unclear, if it's unclear, so that's why.
Well, that's clear, it does not regulate it to be a attached building, all it has to be is in a single-family residential zone.
So, we'll be talking to town council and going from there.
All right, we have a lot of homework, again. So did anybody liaison items?
I went to CPC, and I guess they're all set for town meeting. Some bike racks and some money for, looking at turning Mordecai Lincoln into historical, they're looking at that, and there was talk about what's going on down on First Cliff. He's still a holdout.
Oh, the McDonald party,
Yeah, still a holdout. And so it was, they pulled the baseball field, they pulled the pickleball. So,
You can see in native, the old Oysters is now a huge pickleball thing. The old native mall, the giant Oysters store is nothing but a pickleball. It's-
The Nordstrom shop and native is gone.
Yeah, well, that ended up plaza, it's this huge pickleball thing, it's huge. Yeah. There are people coming from miles around, to
Oh, yes, around it, I'm not Scituate again. It's all the way around, so you're talking about a lot of towns.
what they're going to do is take money from, Toll Brothers, remember that money? And they're going to refurbish the Gates tennis courts and turn 2 of the tennis courts into pickleball courts. So, that's,
Three and three more, yes, three or two. Is it two? Is it 2 and 2 or 2 and 3?
2 and 2.
I thought that they weren't gonna consider that for the time being.
No, it wouldn't be to those other.
No, they're not gonna add anything, this is just sort of a stopgap. I don't think it's the highest and best use to control this thing, that's just my opinion.
all right, anything else, Karen?
So we had the pre-construction conference for the water treatment plant last week. We had gone out there and looked at the staking for the limit of work and the erosion control as well. It's a 2-phase building permit. So the first building permit only goes through the boring because they need to do another boring in order to finish the dewatering plan. So that was made. So we did a 2-phase so they can get started. The boring's supposed to be done on October 7th, and they think they're gonna be starting to dig for excavation for foundations, plus or minus October 24th. I've already said that that's a very tight time frame for turnaround, and I'm not really sure that's. But
Yeah, a lot of adjustments that need to be.
yes, so, the 2 meetings in November, the November 21st meeting, we've got the EOC for that. I got the traffic, the 60% traffic study for Drew this week. I sent it to, Jeff Dirk for review, he provided a few comments, so that was given back. Next week, I'm going out to Seaside and Scituate, see the status of things there. Is it the board's opinion that a takeout pizza joint is equivalent to a takeout hamburger joint?
Sort of,
Yeah,
kind of.
you want-
So we can get hamburgers at the way to. What's this?
I mean,
Okay.
It's the same, what's the difference?
I mean, it's in terms of takeout is takeout.
Right, yeah.
So,
Chinese food.
okay, so I just wanted to get your opinion.
And where is this?
What would rather not say right now? But take out, so that's what you say.
So that's all I have. We're busy. We've been told a million things are coming in.
And where are they?
Well, we reported Janet. We know the school is supposed to be coming in. Pier 44 Park, you're gonna have an informal discussion next week. We've been told that several other projects are coming in, which.
And I heard CCL written in there, yeah. You not hear that?
They got a NEPA certificate for Pier 44.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they do. They have a certificate.
I thought they were weak, I thought that was what we were.
No, they have a certificate.
What did you say about Gannett Road?
340 Gannett
Gosh.
is gonna be coming in,
So,
so,
okay, got it.
okay, so that's where we are.
So excited.
Control yourself, yeah.
Where Tash used to be,
Next to
Gannett,
Cersei.
next to Gannett Marketplace.
That's all I have.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, Seth, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.